Welcome to the IBM Developer Series. We host webinars and workshops on a regular basis to help you expand your developer skills. You can go to our meetup page, that is meetup.com/IBM-cloud-MIA to check out our upcoming webinars. You can also go to developer.ibm.com to check out our various code contents which we post on a regular basis on various topics that is artificial intelligence, data science, blockchain, security, cloud native, etc. So you can go ahead and you can test them out, check them out on this website. And then we also have a Facebook group, that is facebook.com/groups/IBM Developer Mia, where we share regular updates on our workshops and our code contents and our work, which we regularly feature on there. So you can go ahead and check out all of our latest updates on this Facebook group. So in our today's workshop, we'll be trying to analyze loan transactions with Cognos Embedded on Watson Studio. So with me, I have Khalil Faraj, who's a developer advocate at IBM Dubai. And my name is Mridul Bhandari, and I'm also a developer advocate based in IBM Dubai. So you can get started by going to this link, that is ibm.biz/credit-loan-analysis. I can go ahead and get started by creating your IBM Cloud account. And this will help you, for your hands-on session, which you're going to be doing today, which Khalil is going to take over through. And then we also have the survey link, that is ibm.biz/survey-cognos. So you can make use of your mobile phones and scan the QR code on the screen. And it's a 1-minute survey and really helps to understand, what we should focus on and what we need to change and what we could improve on. So some housekeeping for today. On Crowdcast, we have the topic on the top, session on the top, and then you can click on the eye to see the information details about the session. So you can go ahead, you can see all the details and all the links which are available out there. So you can go ahead and you can register for your IBM Cloud, and the survey link all are over here. And Khalil will also be sharing all these links in the chat. And next, you can follow us on Crowdcast, that is IBM Developers, so you can keep getting notified about our workshops and webinars on a regular basis. So you can follow us on Crowdcast and keep getting notified. And then we have the workshop resources, there's a green button that says workshop resources. So you can click on that, and it will lead you to a link where we have all the workshop resources listed for you, so you don't have the trouble of finding them in the chat also. So if you are not able to access them, you can click on this workshop resources and you can see all the links listed over there, which we're utilizing today. And if you have some questions and answers, don't worry, there's an ask a question panel, so you can feel free to ask a question, and we try our best to respond as soon as possible, and we make sure you get the answer to your query before you leave the session. So you can post your question in this ask question session. And if you're looking to chat with everyone and connect with people throughout the globe, you can say something on the chat section. You can chat with everyone. You can leave us a message and we will try our best to respond. If you have any questions, you can post in the ask question panel. But if you want to leave a message, you can go ahead and put it in the chat with everyone section. So what is Call for Code? Call for Code is a yearly challenge. In this, we try to help you put your coding skills to work in taking on the most pressing issue of our time, that is climate change. So you can start by building your solution for the 2021 Call for Code Global Challenge, and you'll have a chance to win $200,000 and receive comprehensive support to see your solution deployed. It is not your regular hackathon where you just build your solution, but you'll also get a chance to see your solution being deployed. So this would help you by if you join this challenge, it will help you build your skill building, social good. You'll be able to contribute something to the society. You'll be able to see your ideas put to action, and you'll also be able to connect with the community of 400,000 plus developers around the globe. And the awards are $200,000 for the global challenge winners, $10,000 for the university challenge winners, and $5,000 for the Middle East and Africa regional winners. I'm really sorry, my screen is getting stuck. So yeah, the agenda for today. We are going to be focusing on data. What is data, and where do we see data? How data is being utilized everywhere. Then we're going to see what is data visualization and why do we visualize our data, and the value we get by visualizing our data. Then we're going to have what is Cognos Dashboard, and then we're going to have the hands-on session, which is going to be conducted by Khalil, and then we're going to have some useful links which will be shared at the end of the session. So just give me a second. I'll just you can take your time to sign up on this IBM Cloud account. The time I'll make sure my the system doesn't get stuck. It doesn't get doesn't stop hanging. Naira, could you unshare my screen for a second? I'll just make sure my screen stops hanging. Yeah, just a minute. I'm just trying to make sure my screen doesn't hang again. Yeah. Really sorry about that. My screen started hanging, so I've made sure it doesn't hang anymore. So this was the agenda. So I'll just repeat the agenda again. So we're going to cover what is data and how is it utilized everywhere. Then I'm going to see, what is data visualization? Why do we visualize our data? And the value we get by, visualizing our data. Then we're going to cover what is Cognos Dashboard. And then we're going to have the hands-on session, which is going to be conducted by Khalil, who's going to be taking us through a very interesting use case. And then we have some useful links we'll be sharing at the end of the session, which help you continue your journey towards data visualization. So moving on, just a minute, yeah. So data is said to be the oil of 21st century. It's valuable, but it is unrefined, and it cannot be really used. It has to be changed into useful format so that it can be utilized by our processes. So it is available in various formats. It can be in sensor data, geospatial data, audio, video, structured and unstructured text. So many companies try to use this data to improve the customer experience, and they try to create valuable entity that drives the profitable activity. So for this, you need to create value out of this data. It is freely available out there, but it needs to be put in a more structured format. So, for example, data is everywhere. So, as I mentioned at the start, we have a lot of uh, products which are going to utilize data every day. So, for example, like everyday products like Netflix. So, you might have seen some recommendations coming in your Netflix account based on your previous searches or previous watches. So, this is based on different genres, different age groups, and different criteria which Netflix evaluates over time. It tries to recommend the best show which would be the most interesting for you and which you're most likely to watch. So it tries to analyze the data from various users of the same age group who prefer the same genre, and it tries to recommend shows which they have watched to other users who fall in the criteria. Then we also have Spotify and other music apps like Anagami who try to recommend music based on the genre you prefer. So you might have heard music previously of some particular genre. So then uh, Spotify and Anagami will try to recommend music based on the genre more preferably to you because you're more likely to hear to that music. More likely to listen to that. And then we have GPS apps such as Waze, Google Maps, who try to provide personalized driving experience. So if you might have utilized these apps, and if you go to a particular restaurant or during a time or during a lunch hour, so if you're in that area, it's more likely to recommend that restaurants to you. So you can you're more likely to go to these areas, and it's trying to provide a personalized experience to go to these areas which are more interest to you or which you're more likely to visit. So it tries to create all this personalized experience by collecting all this data from you, and it tries to make sure you are getting the most value out of this product. Even self-driving cars, if they have to react to changing conditions, so they are and they are trained over various conditions, so that they are able to react to different conditions under different situations, and they're able to achieve the best outcome out of it. So they have to keep reacting to changing conditions. So there's a lot of data that has been collected, and they've been trained over these models over and over again, so that they're able to create a personalized driving experience and are able to better respond to uncertain conditions which are likely to occur in different situations. Then you also have these online advertisements, if you have noticed. So based on what you search or based on what you are looking for, it might recommend those products on various e-commerce websites which you're likely to purchase. So online ads will display these products from various vendors and from various e-commerce websites which you have searched and you're looking for. They try to recommend those products and the best offers for them based on the data that has been gathered depending on your search results and your search queries. So what is data visualization? It is basically the presentation of data in a pictorial or graphical format. So you might have seen these charts and various graphs which have been created, various pie charts. So these common graphics that are, and even animations, they are used to display and communicate complex data and informations and to provide different insights, which might be very tough to go through on records of data. You might have millions of records, and it might be tough to go over through this data and gather these insights or these patterns. So data visualization helps us understand what insights and what relations we're trying to draw from this complex data structures and complex data in different formats coming in, and they're able to help understand the data. This also helps us understand how to convey the results to our stakeholders. So even our stakeholders are more likely to understand these graphs and charts as compared to various records of data, because firstly it's going to take a lot of time, and second it's going to be very difficult for them to go over to this. So by using these pictorial graphs and and charts and animations, you're able to better present your data, and you're able to give better insights, and you're able to identify patterns in your data which you're more likely to miss when you have records of data just lying around. So you're able to create value out of this data by visualizing your data. So why do we visualize the data? So we are visual creatures. We understand data in visual information in an instant. But as I mentioned, if I give you millions of records of millions of rows of data, it's very tough for you to find patterns and insights from this. So you are able to understand if it's given in a form of a chart, or if you're able to understand this, visualize. We have visualized the data in a particular graph or a format. So let's take an example of this chart on the screen, and let's say this is take an example of an automobile dealer. So let the x-axis represent the months, and the bars represent the number of automobiles sold that in that particular month. So let's say this is for July, August, September, and October. So we see July, we are less likely to the sales are less, and for October the sales are shoot up, and then again in September the sales fall a bit, but then again in October they see a rise in the number of vehicles sold. So we are able to understand, every bi-monthly the sales tend to increase, and every bi-monthly the sales tend to decline. So we're able to understand. But if I give you records of data and we were able to analyze this, it would have been very tough. So the value we get by visualizing the data is much more, and it's much easier for us to remember. And this graph is likely to stay for a longer period in our memory, and we're able to be able to deliver our reports in a shorter format by visualizing a data. And it can also be processed by our brain very fast. So this is the value we get by visualizing our data. So so it's not just data which is being visualized, it's also the insights you gather from this and the story you tell. So we have complex events which are occurring in this data, and it's very tough for just to if we just visualize the data and we present some graphs to our stakeholders. So by providing some strategic insights from this data, and which is backed by story, it is really it is really easy for our stakeholders to understand what we are trying to tell by from our data, what our data is trying to tell. So what relations we're able to draw, what distributions we have, or what patterns we're able to draw from this data and from this insights which come from this data. So when we take our data and we visualize the data, and we back it by story, and we create some strategic insights. That is when we create a really good data visualization model. So this is the value we get by providing merging strategic insights, storytelling, and our data. So you merge all these three, and we're able to create some relations, distributions, patterns, and we're able to see the dependence of various features on each other. So this is the value we get by combining all these three and creating a really good data visualization model. So now we have we have these relationships, comparison, distribution, and composition. So different values or different patterns we are able to analyze from our data. So it might be, it might be a bit, confusing to when to use when. So, for relationship, when you're able to, we use this usually when we're trying to create a visualization, try to create a relationship between two or more variables. So we have the scatter plot and the bubble size scatter plot. So if you have two or more variables, you can use the scatter plot. So you can plot it against in the x-axis and the y-axis, and you're able to see these dots on both the places, and you're able to understand the relationship between these two variables. And if you have to draw a relationship between three or more variables, so then we can again have these x-axis and the y-axis, which represent two or more, two features, and the bubbles could represent another feature. And that way we're able to create relationship between three or more variables, and we're able to present this. Now, if you're looking to see the distribution of your data over time, or like about it could be a real-time data coming in, or it could be a static data which you have over a period of time. So you can see the distribution by using the bar histogram or the line histogram. So if you have fewer data points, you can use the bar histogram. If you have a lot of data points, you can use the line histogram. But this two are the graphs which are used when you have a single variable which you're trying to see the distribution over of a single variable over time. But if you have more than two variables, you can see you can use again the scatter plot to see the distribution over time. So you can see what period of time these two variables were ranging from. So if you have the sales with respect to some other feature, you can see those two features on that particular time period, which you can compare, and you can draw a distribution of that data over period of time. Next, we have the comparison. So if you are looking to compare, over time or among items, so again, you divide these two depending on what you want. So if you're trying to see the comparison among items, so if you have two variables per item, you can use the column chart. If you're looking for many categories, you have the table with embedded charts, or you can go for the bar chart horizontal or bar chart vertical. But if you're trying to see the comparison over a period of time, you can use cycle data, or you can null cycle data, and you can see you can use this circular area chart or the line chart depending on how you want what your data is, whether it's cyclical or non-cyclical. Then we have the bar chart vertical and the line chart. So if you want to compare it, see the comparison over single or few categories, you can go for the vertical bar chart. But if you want to see it over over many categories, you can go for the line chart. And lastly, we have the composition. So if you want to see the composition, which is changing over time or static, you can depending on that, you can select the graphs. So if it's changing over a period of time, you can go, let's say if it has fewer periods, you can go for a 100% stacked bar chart or just a stacked bar chart. But if it's over many periods, then you can go for a stacked area chart or 100% stacked area chart. And now if you want to see it over a static period of time, your data it's not changing over a period of time, then you can go over the pie chart just to see the simple share, or you can see the you can use the waterfall chart to see the accumulation or subtraction to the total. And then you have the 100% stacked bar chart on the tree map, depending on how you want to see. So if you want to see component of components, like a keep branching your compositions, then you can go for a 100% stacked bar chart. But if you want to see the accumulation of the total and the absolute, and the difference really matters, you can go to the tree map and you can see how this composition is over a period of time. So next we have the IBM Cognos Dashboard. So IBM Cognos Dashboard is a visualization tool that helps you explore your data and create dynamic visualizations. And it is a very easy to use interface. You can just drag and drop your graphs and your features, and you can create really interactive and interesting charts. And you can create a whole dashboards which can be easily shared with your stakeholders or with your audience anywhere with this just a share button, and you can click the link and you can share the link. So it's very easy for you to create graphs and to share it with your audience, and you're able to import your data very easily and readily. And you can just import this data, drag the features, and create some interesting charts and graphs. So the workshop use case we have today, we are going to visualize credit risk data to understand and gain insights into loan transaction data from a bank. And we're going to be using technologies such as Watson Studio and Cognos Dashboard. And we're going to be trying to visualize this data, which Khalil is going to take over through. And this is the hands-on session. Now I'll hand it over to Khalil to take you over through this session. Khalil, over to you.
Thank you, Mridul. Hey, everyone. Just let me share my screen and my video. Okay. share the screen. Right. Hope you can all see my screen. So today we'll be covering a loan bank transaction use case. So what do we mean by exactly loan bank transaction? So we know a lot of people go ahead and apply for loans to the bank whenever they want to pursue a specific something, whether they want to buy a specific product, they want to buy a car, or maybe they want to save some money for the vacation, take a loan for a vacation, anything. A lot of times the bank want to make sure that they are giving loans to people who will be able to pay back that loan. So the bank wants to distinguish people from who will be able to pay back the loan and who won't be able to pay the loan back. So that's what we mean by usually credit risk. So is it risky to give a specific person a loan, yes or no? So we will be covering this use case here. So we will have a data set that will have all of these information of sampled customers with their information and if they are risky or not, and we're going to work with the data to visualize it and to gain some insights from it. Now we're going to cover the data set and go more into detail about it later on. But for now, meanwhile, while I'm talking, I just hope that you have already registered for your IBM Cloud account. If you go to, for any new joiners, if you just click on this workshop resource in here, this will direct you to our GitHub repository, which is this one. And basically, I just want you to make sure that you download it. So by clicking on the code, just download this file because we want to use this data set into our workshop part. So just to give you a brief, look how the architecture will be for our small hands-on. So basically, we'll be using three main services: Cognos Dashboard to visualize data, which works inside Watson Studio, and we'll be using Cloud Object Storage. So basically, the Cloud Object Storage is where we are going to store our data set, and Watson Studio will be using this data set that's stored in here. And inside Watson Studio, we'll be using the service, Cognos Dashboard, to be able to, try to go ahead and do some visualization, gain some insights. And usually Cognos Dashboard Embedded works only when we're, in this case, by integrating it inside Watson Studio. So again, I hope you have registered for your IBM Cloud account. It's just very simple. The steps are already defined here. You can just go ahead, click, enter your email, your password, and you will receive a verification link just to verify your email. And then there's a couple of questions for personal information just to put in, and then you can go ahead go to IBM Cloud. So I hope all of you are ready. I'll just give a couple of minutes to double check on this, so all of us can start with this workshop. But meanwhile, just to give you some time to register, I want to show you what the end outcome will look like. So eventually, we're going to generate a dashboard that will have a couple of visualization that you can share with anyone. So in this case, I've already generated mine. It's already there inside the GitHub repository, so you can go ahead, click on it, and you will see all of the outcomes. Now, it will take a couple of minutes to load, but basically, these are our visualization that we will be doing. So we have two tabs. The first tab has tree visualization here. So you see here, for example, we have loan purpose. So what kind of loan do people want to apply for or are applying for? And for each one, we have the amount. So for example, we can see that there's around 5,000 for business loans. If we hover over this one, we will see for the radio TV, there is around 4,000. So that's the cool thing about Cognos, that it's interactive. When you hover over them, you will get some more information. Another visualization is because eventually we want to focus on the risk. So this one was a pretty simple visualization, but here we want to focus more on the risk. So in this case, we have a graph, a stacked bar that basically show the risk versus no risk per each property type. So in this case, we're focusing on the property that people have. So for example, we can see that for people who have, who own real estate, we want to see comparing the risk based on the loan duration. So for example, if a person with a real estate property applied for a loan, and this loan has a duration that is above around 20, then it will go to the risky part. If it's less than 20 days, then most probably this person, we can understand that he's safe. As well, we're doing the same thing with savings insurance. So in this case, we can see that people who apply for a loan that is less than, let's say, 23, they are safe. But when the duration is longer than that, then in this case, we'll just go ahead and it will show that it's risky. So by the way, loan sorry, I think there's a here I missed up the title, but that's fine. I just want to show you the insights for now. The third graph is basically how we can see the effect of loan amount and the loan duration on the risks. So in this case, we can see that, for example, the green one here, this represents the no risk chart. So basically, for the amounts that are small, basically are the loan amount groups are categorized in groups. When it's small and the loan duration as well is big in this case, it's safe. The risk here is safe. It's not that risky. But the more the amounts start to getting big and the more the duration kind of starts to change, we can see that this line now is above the risk lines, the no risk line. Sorry. So now we are in the risky part. So this is kind of a way to show where exactly the risk is. And in this case, we can dedicate that when we are talking about loan durations that are long with loan amount that are small, then in this case, it's most probably safe, as we can see in this exact part. In the second tab, we will have our last visualization, which basically shows the number of risk per existing savings. So in this case, we'll see later in the data set that we have an existing saving field. And basically, we can see here that for people who have, a savings between 500 to 1,000, these people are the riskier, are so risky. But for example, for people who have savings that are less than 100 or greater than 1,000, these people are not as risky as this one, for example. So this is just a kind of a glimpse of the visualization that we'll be doing. So we'll go ahead, and I hope by this time everyone has created his IBM Cloud account. So let's go ahead and get started. So by the time you sign into your IBM Cloud, let me go to mine. Sorry, I'll just give some seconds, a couple of seconds, because I think there might be a lag. So this is basically the main dashboard, the main page of IBM. And to get started, we need to create 3 services, the one that I've showed in the architecture flow, which are Cloud Object Storage, Watson Studio, and the Cognos. So the first thing is we go ahead and we click on Create Resource, the blue button right here. And we're going to search for the first service, which is in this case, we'll go ahead and create the Cloud Object Storage. So you can type in the search catalog, Object Storage. And that's the one that you want. You can simply just click on it. And it will ask you, to choose the plan. Of course, go with the light because it's free. And then you can just give it a name and click on Create. So with that, we will have our Cloud Object Storage service ready. And again, we want to use this because this is where we are going to save the file that we want to work with. So once we upload our file later on in Watson Studio, it will be saved in here automatically. So we need this. That's the first thing. The thing is, because we want to work with Watson Studio, when we want to create projects there, we cannot create a project without having a cloud object because we have all of these files that need to be stored somewhere. So that's why we go ahead with Cloud Object Storage. So now that you have this created, just click back, or you can simply click back on IBM Cloud. This will redirect you to the main page. But if you simply just click on here, you'll be able to, again, just search for another service. And in this case, our second service will be Cognos Dashboard. So that's the service that we need to be able to do this visualization inside Watson Studio. So just like we did before, we go ahead, we click on IBM Cognos Dashboard Embedded. It will ask us to choose a location. So choose any location that you want. Usually we choose a location that is closest to our current place because, for data latency, to reduce it. And just like before, we'll go ahead with the free plan, and you can give it a name. Again, just click on Create. So now we have 2 services ready. We only need the third one, which is, the core service, because this is the service that will be using the object storage and the dashboard embedded. So just type Watson Studio. Okay. Okay. And in here, you, again, just like before, choose the same location that you chose earlier, and just click on Light, give it a name. So we're repeating the same process. And again, just click on Create. That's it. So now we have all the 3 services created and ready. And if you go back to your main dashboard in IBM Cloud, so you can click on here. And if you see, if you look at resources, which will pop up in a couple of seconds. All right. So if you see here resource summary, you can simply see all of the services created. So for example, for the cloud object storage, you will see it under storage. As for the Cognos and Watson Studio, you will be able to see them inside services and software. So simply go ahead, expand this, and look for your Watson Studio service that you have already created. So it should be here. So you will see your Watson Studio service in here. Just click on it. And then from there, all you have to do is to launch the platform. So basically, Watson Studio, it's a platform by itself. It will open up in a new link, in a new tab. So just click on Get Started, and then it will send you to Watson Studio, which will be like this. So this is how Watson Studio looks. This is the main page of Watson Studio. Now, they might ask you if this is your first time. They might ask you, to just set it up, ask you for some information. You can do this with a couple of clicks. And once you're good to go, you will see this page. Of course, if this is the first time, again, you won't see any projects in here. So the first thing to do in this case is to go ahead and create a project. So you can see the Create a Project button here, or you can see it from here, but let's go ahead and click on Create a Project. And we'll go ahead and choose Create an Empty Project. So we'll go ahead, click on this, and we give a project a name. In this case, let's give it loan transaction use case use case demo. So give it a name that you want. Basically, with Watson Studio, because a lot of time different roles will be collaborating on the same project. Sometimes you have data scientists, sometimes you have business analysts, you have data engineers. All of them, they will need to be working on the same project. So here, this is as well. That's why we go with Watson Studio, and you can from here choose or restrict who can be our collaborator on the specific project. Now, in our case, we will kind of imagine ourselves as business analysts because we are focusing on this use case. We'll be playing the role of a business analyst because we want to gain these insights, visualize them, and try to get some relationships, some patterns, some information from the visualization that we are doing. So that's it from here. And you will see under storage that you will see the storage service that you have created that will be automatically assigned in here. If you don't have one, if you have created one before, that's totally fine. You can simply just create one directly from here. But in case you have created, you will see it automatically assigned. So just go ahead now and click on Create. So usually with Watson Studio, we can do a lot of stuff. It's everything regarding to data, machine learning, building predictive models, even working with neural networks. So everything related to this specific field can be done on Watson Studio. And of course, in our case, we'll be working with the data visualization part. And this is how the project looks. So this is the main page of a project. Of course, we have 0 assets. We only have one collaborator, which is me in this case, and it will be you when you created the project. There's only one. Oh, everything is empty. Now, the tab that we focus on in this case is the Assets tab. So you need to go ahead and click on Assets. The first thing here that we need to do is to upload our data file. So I hope by this time everyone has downloaded the GitHub repository because we want to use the CSV file that's there. So simply just click on Browse on here on the right side. And you should see the file downloaded. Now, in my case, it's that's the file. I'll just click on Open. It should take a couple of seconds to upload it. Now it's still pending. Usually it's faster. Okay. Now, as we can see, it showed us that sending the file to cloud object storage. So that's the thing. When we want to work with Watson Studio, and because we will be using files, these files need to be stored somewhere. So as I said before, that's why we created the object storage service and we assigned to Watson Studio to be able to store these files somewhere on the cloud. So now our file is uploaded. It's already has been sent to cloud object storage, and now we have it here. We can use it. So let's go ahead, and I want to show you a bit more of the file that we are working with. the main field that we have in this case. So basically, again, these are, dummy data of customers for a specific bank, a virtual bank, let's say. And again, here the entire focus is to try to gain understanding on who is usually risky to give him a loan application and who's not. So in this case, we have the customer ID, which is in this case is uses. Of course, we're not going to use it. There's a lot of different fields, but the one that we will focus on, as we saw in the outcome that I showed you in the beginning, there's a loan duration that we'll be using. So this is basically how many days will the loan be? Like 30 days, 18 days, 31, sorry, 15 days. We have the credit history. So basically, this is just to get information of if the customer is paying his credits, if they are delayed, this kind of stuff. The loan purpose, on what exactly the loan application is regarding what. So is it regarding car, furniture, education, vacation. There's different values in here. Of course, the loan amount, the existing savings. This is the one that we use in the final visualization, and we have all other fields. Of course, we're not going to work with all of them. We chose 4 or 5. Of course, this is the main one here, which is the risk. So for each one of these customers, we can see if the loan application is risky or not risky. So here, for example, these four are shows that they don't have a risk. The 5th one, for example, tells us that this person has a risk. So we will basically be using this data to go ahead and visualize and to do these, try to get some better insight and better understanding. So now that we have our data set and uploaded, just go ahead and click back on your project name in here. In my case, it's called Loan Transaction Cognos Use Case Demo. And now that we have our file ready, we want to add the dashboard part. So basically, to do this, all we have to do is click on Add to Project, the blue button here, and you will see Dashboard. So this is basically the asset type that will allow us to go ahead and use Cognos to start making our visualization. Now it will ask us for a name, a dashboard name. So let's go and say loan actions, visual, dashboard. Okay, so now here again, because this is a dashboard, it needs the Cognos Dashboard Embedded Service that we created earlier. So you can basically just click on Associate to link them together. So in this case, this won't be made automatically, just like the Cloud Object Storage Service. Here, we will need to go ahead and assign it. Maybe you will find automatically assigned to yours, but I doubt. So in this case, just click on Assign. You will see your service in here. That's my service. I'm going to click on it. By the way, if you don't have one, you can again create one directly from here. But if you have created it before, just click on this, click on Associate the service, and now click on Reload. So now we see that our service is right here. That's my Cognos Dashboard service linked to this dashboard. Now I can go ahead and click on Create. All right. So if guys if you're not getting a up with me, if I'm going too fast, I just want to let you know that all of the steps are explained. Let me go to my GitHub to show you exactly. You will see. Let's go back. I will give a couple of times so people can have already created the dashboard. But I just want to let you know that everything is documented on the GitHub repository. So all of the steps, everything in here. So these were basically this parts where we were creating the services. And here where we went with Watson Studio, and here when we upload the data set, then we added the dashboard. So now we're on this step. So I just want to let you know that everything is documented, and even later on you will see that everything as well is annotated with all the arrows. So this will be very useful for you later on if you want to try this again. So yeah, to proceed. So the moment that the dashboard is done, it's going to ask you for a layout, a template layout. Basically, we have 2 types of layouts when it comes to dashboard. We have the tab and the infographic. Now in this case, let's go with the default one with the tab template, and we will leave it as it is empty. So just like this, we will click OK. So again, now it's going to ask us to select a source. So now this is our dashboard. It's empty. This is our canvas. There's nothing in here. We need to select a source that we'll be using to draw the visualization. So we will see the plus button here. You can click on this plus button. And since we have already uploaded our data file, if you go to data asset, you will see the file right here. So just click on it, and you can ignore this message, that's fine. And click on select. And that's it. So now we have successfully added our data source. We can see it in here, and we can expand it. So if you click on this data source that we just added, we will be able to see all of our data fields in here. And the great thing about Cognos is that it automatically parts the values of the data. So for example, loan duration, loan amount, because these are numbers, it automatically changes them from string to integers to numbers, because these are values. So basically this kind of icon here, like a ruler, shows that this field has numbers, while the ABC basically shows that the values are strings. So now that we have our fields ready, we can go ahead and start doing our visualization. Now, the first visualization, again, is pretty simple. There will be no risk in here, just to get you, to see how we can work with Cognos. The great thing about Cognos is that there are many ways to create visualization. So we'll go ahead with the first one, basically, which is by dragging and dropping the field that you want. So Riddle was explaining before how easy it is to use Cognos. It's basically just a matter of drag and drop. Now, in this case, the first visualization consists of loan purpose, loan purpose and loan amount. So we'll go ahead, click on loan purpose, drag and drop it inside the canvas in here. Now you will see the different purposes that we have, appliance, business, car new, car use, all of these different values. Now, of course, in this case, we will not have visualization because we just have a table kind of. We need to add another field to start doing visualization. So the second field in this case is the loan amount. So drag the loan amount and make sure to drop it inside this one. Because if you drop it outside and inside the canvas without this one, you will see that this will be, like a new field by itself, which shows the entire loan amount. But we want to use this one, combine it with the loan purpose, right? So we just drag it and drop it inside it. So let me remove it from here. And again, I'm going to choose loan purpose, loan amount, and I'll put it inside this one. So now what will happen is Cognos will automatically find kind of the best or the most suitable visualization for these two values. So we can see in this case, now I'm pretty zoomed in. Let me zoom out a bit because I can't work from here. All right, so we can see now that we have our first visualization. And basically, Cognos saw that the best way for now to visualize this is using this line. So this is the type of the chart of the graph. And we can see all of our purpose in here, the different purposes. And each one of them shows us the loan amount. So for example, for appliances, the amount for this specific type is around 2.7 million. For businesses, the amount is around 700,000. So for each one, we will get a specific loan amount for each category. Now by default, again, Cognos go with sum. So for each of these categories, it will go ahead, take the loan amount, and it will sum them together. But we can change this if you want. So if we click on properties in here, okay, sorry, not properties, fields. If we click on fields, again, from this tabs in here, basically we'll see our, where our fields are. So in this case, on the x-axis, we are using the loan purpose. And on the y-axis, we're using the loan amount. And this basically was done automatically by Cognos because we dragged and dropped these two together. Cognos generated that visualization, and these were automatically filled. Okay. So in this case, we can go ahead and work with the loan amount, which is this one, the y-axis. If we click on this menu, the 3 points right here, and you go to summarize, we can change this if you want from sum to, for example, let's go ahead to make them as average. So in this case, we were going to get the average for each category. So for example, now, if you want to check the new car, the average amount on this specific field is 1.5. Or for example, if you want to go with car users, it's 2.8, so nearly 3,000. So now we've changed from sum to average. This is just a quick way to do it. Now let's say we want to change this visualization and we want to make it as a pie chart, because this is what we saw earlier when I was showing you the output. So to do this, we can simply just click on this button right here. So this button represents all the visualization, and the line basically shows the current visualization that we are using. Now in this case, since this is a line, it will show up in here as line. But we can click on it, and we can click on all visualization, and we can choose anything that we want. So let's go ahead and go with pie. So I will choose pie now. Now you see automatically these were changed because I went from line to pie, and pie will use segments and size. So Cognos is smart enough, to do the change for us. So now the loan purpose is inside segments, and the size has loan amount. So let me close this. Now we have this first visualization, all the different categories. Let me try to, all the different categories. So for example, this is what we saw earlier. So again, we have 5,000, for example, for businesses. Lowest amounts are regarding this one, car use and car new. So car new has 1.5 as we saw before, and car use are around nearly 3,000. So these are the lowest amount when it comes to loan application. They are regarding the cars. So we can make some more customization. For example, we want to add a title. So if we click on this visualization again here, so if you click on the canvas by mistake, you will see all the tabs here disappear. So you need to click on a visualization to kind of customize it. So click on it, and you will see the T icon here. And basically here we can add a title. Now, for some reason, I just want to move this, but because I'm zoomed in. But basically, in your case, if now you have a title, you will be able to see or type the title in here. But let me just try to zoom out. I'm having some issues with zooming. Okay, let me reduce this. All right. Okay, let me zoom in back. So now you see when you click on the title, you can add your title here. So you see you can say loan purpose, or whatever you want. So loan amount. We want to go ahead and check each of the loan amount per each purpose, per loan purpose. So this is just a quick way to give, a title. You can change the color of the title if you want. You can make it bold, change the font, the size of it, anything you want. It's up to you. Let me go back to zoom in. Okay. Hope this is better. Let's zoom in 1 second. All right. So this is our first visualization. Now, of course, if you click on it, and you can simply expand it to work on the entire thing. But once you're done, you can simply just minimize it. Of course, you might see that things are getting much more smaller, but that's totally fine. This is just, for now. But when you want to visualize the entire thing, it will automatically readjust. The size will automatically be readjusted. So for now, I'm just going to make it a bit smaller because I want to win some space to add another visualization here. In this case, now the second visualization will be the stacked bar chart, the second one that we saw earlier. Now, we saw the first way to create the visualization is by drag and dropping the fields, but let's try now another way. So instead, let's go ahead and click on this button here, the visualization icon from the left side. So here we'll be able to see all the different visualizations that we have. In this case, I want to work with the stacked bar, this one. So now we will drag and drop the visualization instead of dropping fields. So I'm going to put this in here. Of course, it's going to be empty because I haven't specified any fields. But now I can simply add the fields in here. So once you drag and drop this one, it will automatically open the fields for you so you can add them. Now, in this case, we can add 3 different fields. So for the bars, we're going to add owns property. So this is the visualization that shows for each customer based on what they own, how much they represent a risk based on their duration. This is what we want to show in here. So we add the own property. We want to add length. The length will be the loan duration. So drag the loan duration and drop it inside the length field. And the last field will be color. And basically here we want to use risk as color, right? Because we want to show which one represent the risk and which one represent the non-risk, as we can see in here. So I'm going to expand this by clicking on this icon so I can get a better view. Now, the first thing that I see in this case, that the loan duration is, in this case, it's summing everything. I don't want in this case to sum. I prefer to work with the average because these numbers are big. So if I go to loan duration, just like we did the first time, we can click on these three dots in here, go to summarize, and click on average. So now that's better because now I have an average of these loan durations. And just like before, we talked about them. For example, for people who have real estate, if they have a loan duration that is bigger than 15, then most probably they might represent a risk. So this is here a way where we can see based on what they are owning and on the loan duration, how much is this specific how much is this customer, how much does he represent? Sorry, does he represent a risk? So that is another way to show these kind of stuff. This is how we can do this. So now we have two visualization. Now let's go ahead and add the third one. So let's minimize this. We can try to give it a bit of more space because we have here on the canvas a bit of more spacing. I'll expand this to here, and I'll add this, try to make it next to it, just like this. So now we have two. So this one, I think it's okay. All right. So now we will add the third visualization, and just like we did, we'll go ahead, open the visualization tab, and now what we want to do is to add the line visualization graph. So we drag this, we drop it inside the canvas. So now we have this one. Again, it will open up the fields. So we need to define the field inside. So for the x-axis, what we want to do is to put loan duration. This one. So this is the visualization that shows us how loan duration and loan amount can have an effect on the risk. So we'll go ahead and add the loan duration on the x-axis. We are going to add the loan amount. The loan duration is on the y-axis. The loan amount is on the x-axis, right? And the color is, again, the risk, because it's what we are focusing on. So now we have our visualization here. Let's go ahead and expand it. You will see that it doesn't look at all good, right? It's very crowded. And we have a warning. If we click on this warning icon, it tells us that our data was clipped at 3,000 ISIN because there is a lot of different values in this case. So a good way to have a workaround on this is by turning on something called auto grouping. So if you go ahead, so again, we know that the problem is in this case, from the x-axis in here, because we have all of these different values. So go to the x-axis where we have our loan amount, click on the menu, and go to auto group. So just enable the auto group. You can change the number of groups if you want, but let's just leave them by default 10. And basically what it does, it's going to create a range for these values. So in this case, we have a much better looking graph. So we can see now that, for example, it has, let's close this. So it has created all of these different ranges for all the different loan amount values. So for example, we can see here that all of these amounts that are less than nearly 1,000 are here, between 1,000 and 2,500 are here. So each one is grouped. And as we saw before, that when we have a loan amount that's small and that has a long duration, then it doesn't represent a risk, as we can see right here. But once the amounts start going up, we can see that the line that represents risk start to be above the line that doesn't have risk, so it will get riskier. So basically, small loan amounts with long duration are safe. So this is basically how we can get some insights. So this is our third visualization. Let's minimize this and let's make it a bit, better looking. Now, I'm not adding titles for these, but of course it's a good practice, to add these titles. And another thing is that you can customize the way you want the graph to look. So for example, if I click on this, let me expand it again. And if you click on properties in here, you can actually change, some of the stuff. legend, if you want to customize it the way you want, we can change the color. So in this case, we're using palette 1, but you can go ahead and put any other thing you want. Let's go, for example, with palette 6. We'll have this. So this is basically how we can, make it a bit better looking, change some of the colors, customize it the way you want. So here there is no right or wrong. It's up to you. It's a style. So that's it for this visualization. So let's minimize this. So we have these three. And now what you want to do is you want to create a new tab and add our final visualization to it. So we have here tab 1 that consists of 3 visualization. If we click on the plus button here, we can now generate a new tab. So we can choose any template for this new tab. Again, we'll leave it as the default one. Click OK. And now we have a new canvas that represents tab. And basically here we're going to do our final visualization. So just like we did before, click on this visualization icon here. I am saying a lot of visualization. This word is coming everywhere. And what you want to do now is to grab the graph that has packed bubble, right? So go ahead, drag and drop this one. And just try to make it a bit bigger, because in this tab we only have this visualization, so it can take all the space. That's fine. Okay, so now it's empty because we need to define spaces. So what you want here is to focus on the existing savings. So based on what category of the customer has from when it comes to savings, how much does it represent a risk? So we will search for the existing savings field, which is this one. And we're going to drag this and drop it to bubbles. So basically the bubble field represents how many bubbles do you want. So if we have 5 different values, we will have 5 bubbles, okay? But we want to distinguish them, right? So we need to add, we want to have every bubble with its own color. So since we have 5, in this case, we want to have 5 different colors. So again, just drag the existing savings and put it now inside color. So now we have 5 bubbles, and each one with its own color. The last thing is to have the size, because we want to at this moment everything is looking the same. So we need to kind of see which one is riskier, which one is not. So we can, since we're focusing on the risk, we will take the risk, drag and drop it to size, and put it in here. Now you will see in this case that all of these 5 bubbles have the exact same size. If you hover on any of them, you will always see the risk is 2. So basically here, this is a string value. And what's doing is it's counting the values that we have, the unique values. And we know that the risk column, when we were checking the data set, has only 2 values, the risk and the no risk. So what will happen is these are only 2 unique values. So that's why we see number 2 everywhere. They all have the same size, which is something that we don't want because this is useless. So in this case, to fix it, click on the menu, the 3 buttons, go to summarize. And what you want to do is to make count, not count this thing. So I want to count everything. So for each, now you'll see that the size will change, all right, as we can see here. But again, that doesn't make sense, because now what I'm doing is basically I am counting all the values for each of these existing savings. So for example, for the existing savings that are between 100 and 500, I'm counting both the risk and the no risk values. Same thing for all of the other categories. Again, this is not very useful, right? How can I make this even better? In my case, I want to focus only on the risk part. So I want only to have the risk values and not the no risk value. So to do this, I can add a filter. You can see here in the filters, and this usually should be open, but in case it was closed, you can click on the filter tab right next to fields, just here. It will open up. Now you will see there are two tabs in here. There is one that shows all tabs and one that shows this current tab. What that means is if I'm adding a filter to this part in here, it means that this filter can affect all the other dashboards that we have. If I'm adding a filter here, it will only affect this current tab. Now, of course, in my case, I don't want to affect all the other previous dashboards that we worked on before. I just want to make the changes on this current dashboard. So I will go ahead, I'll drag the risk field from here and make sure to add it to the second tab, not the first one, because I'm only focusing on this tab. So now I can see that I can filter by either no risk or risk. Now we're going again, I'm focusing on the risk part, so just click on risk, click OK, and now we have the same thing that we showed before at the beginning of the session, that people who have savings between 500 to 1,000 represent the highest risk. Those who have less than 100 and greater than 1,000 has the least amount of risk. Of course, the unknown in this case, we are ignoring it because this basically shows missing data, which we don't care about. So this is basically how it looks. You can play around with it if you want, like going to properties, change the color palette if you want, whatever you feel, the way it suits you. It's up to you to change it. But basically, this is how. Let me just expand it, make it a better, right? This is basically how we can create visualizations. Now the last thing to do is to click on save. Now usually when you're working, Cognos will automatically do automatic saving, but always make sure to save it once you're done. So latest change are already saved. And the last part is you want to share this dashboard. So if you click on the link share in here, you can click on share with anyone who has the link. So we will enable this. And here you are going to see, oops, it's gone. We'll just, now we have a link that is generated. We can just click on copy the link and just go and paste it wherever you want to see your visualizations. So now we're going to see something very similar to what we saw earlier. The only difference here is basically the missing titles because I didn't add title to each one of them. But of course, it's a better practice to add the titles. So voila, here we have 3 different visualizations. This is our first tab. And by default, you will see the filters open. You can close them if you want. But basically, because here we have no filters, it will show nothing because this is the first tab, right? But if you go to the tab number 2, and you open filters, you will see that you have one here. And you can manipulate it. So maybe I want now to show the no risk, and I want to remove the risk. And now I can change it so it will affect. Of course, it's interactive. You can hover around it and see what's happening. And another thing here is if you click on tab 1, for example, let's say now I have clicked on, let's see something much more useful. Let's say this one, for example, which is appliances. If I click on appliances here, you will see that changes as well have appeared on this field, this graph, and this graph. Let me zoom out a bit. So basically here what happened is that it's kind of, Cognos is now filtering the results by focusing only on appliances. So if I click on something else, let's go to repairs. Check these other 2 graphs, they will change. So what's happening is now that it's going to show the non-unmatched groups and show the loan duration, but for all the values that are focusing on repairs, you see? Now by default it was of course on everything, but if you want to go to specific something, for example, on education, if I click on education here, I'll have the changes that occurred on these other places. So it really depends on how you want to, make your dashboard, how you want to tell your story, because again, here we try to play the role of a business analyst. And when it comes to sharing insights, you always need to have a great story. But of course, here the use case basically was just to introduce you to Cognos Dashboard, get familiar with it, play around with it to see how you can draw some visualization and try to see how we can get insights. And this is exactly what we have done. So that's it for the workshop part. I hope it was useful. I hope you liked it. Again, everything is documented here as we saw. I have the dashboard link as well added here, so you can feel free to check this anytime you want. And you will see this is the dashboard link that I have created here, and you will see it somewhere else. I think I've added it. Here, you can see it from here. So that's it. Again, a quick summary. We just basically created 3 services: Watson, the cloud object storage, where we can save our dataset files that we want to work with. And this will be basically, we'll be using this file inside Watson Studio, where we have our Cognos service being used. So with that, we went ahead, we created our dashboard. We saw different ways. We can either drag and drop fields, and Cognos can automatically try to give us a suitable visualization for the fields that we have combined together. Or we can simply choose another way by first dragging the visualization and then add the fields. And of course, at any time, we can simply, if, for example, Cognos generated a field for a graph for us, we can go ahead and change it just like we saw earlier. You can customize it the way you want. You can add colors, you can add titles, basically just tell your story. And eventually we just did it and generated a link that can be shared with anyone. So back to you, Mridul, to conclude this session. I'll stop sharing my screen.
Yes, Khalil, I'll just share my screen just a second. Yeah, Khalil, you can see my screen, right?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, all right. So thank you, Khalil, for that use case and taking over through the hands-on session. So just to summarize what we have done today, we have tried to create interactive dashboards and infographics using Watson Studio with Cognos. And then Khalil showed us how to customize our dashboards and shape it according to the needs of our consumers. And with this, we were able to analyze the loan transactions data, which had a lot of records, but visualizing this data really made it easy for us to understand what insights and patterns were there in the data. And because of this, we were able to create relations and understand the patterns and distribution in this data set. So why join Call for Code? So as I mentioned, you'll be able to you'll be able to build many skills. You'll be able to work with hybrid cloud technologies, develop skills that can enhance your professional career, and you'll be able to make a positive impact over the world by contributing to the society, because climate change is one of the most pressing issues of our time. You'll be also able to connect with a community of 400,000 plus developers and interact with them and collaborate with them and work on projects. And you'll be able to see your ideas put to action. As I mentioned, this isn't your average hackathon. You can see your solution being built and deployed if it meets, and you'll be able to get the support from the Linux Foundation. And the grand prize is $200,000. And these are some useful links. Khalil will share them in the chat, and you can go ahead and you can access these links, and you can go over, because we have the get started link here. We have the hands-on link here, which, as Khalil shows, documents all the steps which you have done in the hands-on session. And we have the developer.ibm.com and the meetup link. Developer.ibm.com has a lot of code content and patterns and tutorials which we create, and you can check out our content over there. And then we have the meetup link, which is the meetup group we have, where we regularly show which are webinars and workshops which are conducting. So you can go ahead, enroll yourself over there, join us over there, and you can check out the latest workshops and webinars which are going to be conducted. And then these are, thank you for so much for attending. These are contact details. My name is Mridul Bhandari, and mridul.bhandari@ibm.com is my email ID. And you can also reach out to me on Twitter @mridulrb, or you could reach out to me on LinkedIn. This is my LinkedIn profile link, linkedin.com/in/mridul-bhandari. And Khalil's email ID is khalil.faraj@ibm.com. His Twitter handle is Khalil_IF, and his LinkedIn profile is linkedin.com/in/Khalil Faraj. And this is the QR code for the survey and the link. So you can just use your mobile phone cameras, scan the QR code, and fill the survey. It will take less than a minute, but really helps us understand what you want us to focus on, and how we could improve our workshops and webinars, and try to align it with your needs. So I'll just stay on the screen for a few seconds so that you can scan the QR code and take the copy the link if you're not able to scan the QR code. So yeah, I hope you've scanned the QR code and you've filled the survey. And thank you so much for joining us today. Khalil, let me know if there are any questions in the chat so we can answer.
Yeah, so far so good, but just can you, I'm not able to access my power. Well, 1 second now. Okay, now it's fine. Just open. I just want to share
Yeah.
the links. The useful links. So this is the useful links. Oops, this is the old. Okay, can you? I will need you to share them. I am having a problem with
Sure.
the
Naira, can you stop
PowerPoint.
my screen sharing? And actually, I'll be. Yeah. So I'll just share the links. Just a minute.
By the way, guys, all the links that we are sharing are inside the GitHub repository. So if you simply just go to the GitHub, which again you can access from the workshop resource button, you will see all of these links: the survey, the useful links, the IBM Cloud link to create your account. All is there, so this can be useful as well to have them all in one place. If you have any questions, feel free. We are going to give a couple of minutes to wait for your questions. If not, then I think we are good to go. We can close if there are no questions. Yeah, I think we can close.
All right.
So thank you, everyone.
Thank you for joining us today.